Hello everybody, it's Sunday afternoon, Annabelle Bateman here, and this is something I've been wanting to talk about for a while and will probably turn into a blog post at some point, but I thought it would be handy to have a chat about the easiest way to go gluten-free. Many of you will know that's probably the main underlying dietary restriction, I guess, that I put on myself after much research and experience. I have chosen to be gluten-free and feel so much better for it. And really going gluten-free was one of the first things that I did on my health and wellness journeys many years ago now, at least 5-6 years ago. But I had dabbled in being gluten-free for many years before that. Probably the first time, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago, but definitely around sort of 10-12 years ago, I started going gluten-free, but couldn't maintain it. And so I do now 100% gluten-free unless I've had something that I haven't intentionally have. I'm not celiac. I do have the celiac gene, but I would say I have what would be called a gluten intolerance. So I want to tell you about what I think is the easiest way to go gluten-free. And this came up, I guess my top tip came from having a conversation with Mum probably a couple of months ago now, where she said, I don't know how you do it, Annabelle. I don't know how you have the discipline, to be gluten-free and to do, to eat the way you do. And I said, well, actually, I don't think it is discipline. I think it's just having a rule that I don't eat gluten. And so that's really my number one biggest tip. For the easiest way to be gluten-free is to make that a rule for yourself, is that you are gluten-free. You're 100% gluten-free. And then you don't actually have to choose. So you don't then have to debate every time you look at a piece of cake or a dessert or a deep fried spring roll. You don't have to decide, should I eat this, should I not? Is it worth it, is it not? Oh, I've had a pretty good day, but maybe this one little thing won't hurt. If you just have a rule that you don't eat gluten, then you don't eat gluten. And that's really the simplest thing. So that's my number one tip. I guess sitting alongside of that, just to give you a few different ideas of what has worked for me, apart from making that as a rule, and I think for the last 5 or 6 years that's been a complete rule for me. I'm 100% gluten-free. I would say usually say I'm about 80% grain-free. It's a few other grains have slipped in for me recently, so I'm about to cut them all out again. Feel like my system needs a bit of a reboot. Because there's other things that I know irritate my gut. And but in terms of the gluten, 100% gluten-free, tell people, if you're just deciding for your own health and wellness that your system is better off without gluten, then tell people that you don't eat gluten. And that way, over time, people will know if it's a new thing, it'll become a regular thing, and people will know that you don't eat gluten too. So if you go to someone's house for dinner and you just say, look, I'm just letting you know I can't eat gluten. Is there something that I can bring to make it easier for you? Because actually eating gluten-free is actually quite easy when you focus on all the positive things. But if you tell people, then, then it just helps. It helps you stay accountable as well. So that's my top tip number 2. Number 3 is to plan ahead, particularly when you're new and you're starting out on a gluten-free lifestyle. You really do need to be planned, because if you're used to being able to just grab snacks or a sandwich or I can't even think what gluten snacks you have anymore. We haven't had one for a while, but if you're just wanting to grab something, it can be a bit trickier. So you do need to plan ahead. I find it helpful when you're going gluten-free to not just immediately replace all your gluten products with gluten-free versions of the same product. So it's easiest to actually try to go without bread or pasta or cakes or biscuits for a while, and just look for the whole food, the nutritional food alternatives, because there are plenty of them out there. You can do zucchini noodles, for example, instead of pasta, like this is in my cookbook. Charlie a few years ago, and it's looking very cute. So you can do your zoodles. You can do cauliflower rice. That's really, not that rice has gluten in it, but that's a nice, another nice little option. You can make bread. I've got a nice cauliflower turmeric bread recipe if you're really wanting something to hold together. Hello, Karen. Welcome back. Well, I think you're back, maybe. We're just chatting about going gluten-free and what's the easiest ways to do that. And right now I'm just talking about looking at alternatives. So if you're so that you don't just go for the gluten-free pasta, bread, cakes options, because often they don't make you feel that great either. And it actually is quite helpful, I think, to look at alternatives so that you just get out of thinking about eating a sandwich or a cake or pasta. So in order to do that, here's my top tip number 4, and I might come up with a couple of others when I get around to writing the blog post, is that it is helpful to have some good resources. So find some great online recipes, invest in a couple of good cookbooks. I like some of the like Practical Paleo. I like Irina Macari's books, has a good, some of Sarah Wilson's recipes are good. Pete Evans, there's heaps of great ones. There's also, of course, what Annabelle cooks, real food recipes that will make you flourish. These are all gluten, grain and dairy free. So, so this, just having a good cookbook is really handy. And if you want to get a hand on mine and you don't have it yet, then you can just go to whatannabellecooks.com and buy it there, available as a PDF or obviously in the hard copy. So Karen, you just said, I wish someone would give this advice to airlines. I know, because when you order a gluten-free meal on an airline, you get horrible bread and stale. It's awful. So I do know that. And I think probably maybe what we need to do is get better at asking for paleo, perhaps, rather than gluten-free. I know if I'm going to an event or a dinner or something like that, I will just say, if I'm asked for dietary requirements, I'll just say gluten-free. And mostly, if it's a dinner, you don't tend to get a lot of grain-based options anyway, but I've started to think maybe requesting paleo might be a better option, so that you don't get the gluten-free lasagna or the gluten-free, or a big bowl of risotto or something like that. But yes, maybe a good top tip for airlines is to take some good snacks, which I know is tricky when you've been traveling for a while like you were. So anyway, there we go. Top tips. Look out for a blog post sometime soon. But number 1 rule was make a rule. Actually have a rule that you're 100% gluten-free, then you don't have to actually think about it. You have to think about how to manage it, but you don't actually have to debate each time you're confronted with a choice, am I going to eat this or am I not? If you just don't, then you don't, and that honestly makes it so much simpler. Tip number 2 was to tell people, so that helps hold you accountable and they can make it easier for you. Tip number 3 is to plan ahead, and tip number 4 is to have some good resources. So there we go. If you've got any of your own tips about how to make gluten-free living easy or the transition into a gluten-free lifestyle easy, then feel free to pop them in the comments, because this is a great little community where we can all learn from each other. So I hope you're enjoying your Sunday afternoon. You find something yummy to cook for Sunday night dinner. Lee cooks in our house on a Sunday night, so looking forward to what he comes up with. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks for joining in live, and catch you later. Bye.